This is Trauma Recovery Anonymous, and the first part of this program is how to heal any past trauma memory. As spoken about earlier, it's about cause and effect. The cause is the past trauma memory, and the effect is how it manifests in our lives mentally, emotionally, physically. How it manifests with nightmares and flashbacks and triggers and faulty thinking and faulty feeling and dysfunctional behaviors. And then from that, a trauma therapist, a mental health professional, gives an opinion of what's wrong with us. They make a diagnosis of what's wrong with us. But it's an opinion, and they may be wrong. If someone declares that you have PTSD or you have depression or you have general anxiety disorder, that's their opinion. It's not set in stone. It's not your truth. They might be wrong. So my argument here is, let's imagine you and I are working together. I'm your therapist and you're my client. And we both experience a trauma event. And you decide to fight the trauma, while I decide to run away and be safe. Self-preservation, and it's not safe to stay around. I'm going to lose the battle. I'll go away and hide. Now, from my perspective, you fighting this trauma that I know can't be beaten, I think that's a crazy decision to make. That maybe you have some suicidal thoughts, maybe you have a death wish, maybe you're someone who just likes confrontation, and maybe is bipolar, and I make a decision based on my attitude and my perspective of how that should be handled compared to how you're handling it. So I decide that you must be bipolar or some other condition I label you with. Because coming from my side of the fence, the right thing to do is to run away. So I speak to my colleagues and they concur that yes, your behavior is a death wish, it is suicidal thinking, it is confrontation, it is a crazy notion to fight this trauma. But by the same mark, you're fighting it and you look over your shoulder and you see me running away. And your concept, based on your reactions, is that I'm a coward, I'm selfish and self-centered, I'm willing to run away and leave you behind and not help out and not try and fight this thing. I'm going to run away and look after myself and not care for anybody else. In your eyes, I would be cowardly, I would be maybe a narcissist, and I might be selfish and self-centered in the extreme, and you might make a diagnosis of me because of my response in relation to how you see handling a trauma. Now, by all accounts, for you, you're making the right observation of me. That as far as you're concerned, I'm not fighting this, so I must be a coward, I must be selfish and self-centered, not caring for anybody else. By the same token, I'm making a judgment of you that you must have a death wish. We both have observations that we're making from our side of the street that make sense to us, but we're both wrong. We have God-given instincts, which are our feelings and emotions, that in any situation, we feel our feelings, anxiety, stress, anger, whatever it is. And from those feelings, we take action of fight, flight, or freeze. They're perfectly normal behaviors. And if you're a fighter, well and good. And if I'm a fleer or a freezer, that's well and good too. I'm not wrong because I don't do it your way, and you're not wrong because you don't do it my way. We have to understand that if you run away, or if you fight, or if you freeze, that's perfectly normal and acceptable for you. And I can't be making a decision or a diagnosis of you because my way of thinking is different than yours. It just happens to be we're two different people. It would be wonderful, I think, in this day and age, if a client had a therapist who thought as they did. So if a client is someone who runs away, then they get a therapist who is also someone who runs away. So when they work together, they can be on the same level playing field. But to be someone who fights, judging someone who runs away, you're never going to be able to look at this in a very healthy manner. You'll see the other person as being a coward or selfish, self-centered, when in fact they're obeying their God-given instincts and responses to danger. So as much as I believe that to heal from a mental disorder diagnosis, we have to treat the past trauma memory, at the same time we have to really understand that a diagnosis is a person's opinion and they could be wrong. So if you're diagnosed with depression or with PTSD, it's okay to question that. Are you really suffering from a mental disorder? Or were you at that time doing the best you could do with what you had? Is it perfectly okay for you to want to run away, to hide, to freeze, to cry, to shut down emotionally, to play dead? Is it okay for you to run away? Is it okay for you to fight your corner, take up arms? I like that story about the Vikings, and when they'd attack a village, the tribe would separate into 3 separate units. One unit would take up arms to defend the village. One unit would run off into the mountains to hide in caves. And the third unit, if they were too young or too old, they would hide. They would play dead. They would hide in haystacks or under the floorboards, or they'd paint their bodies with the blood of animals, of chickens and pigs, and lie there pretending they're dead. And the Vikings would come, they'd attack. The Vikings would move on. Then when the Vikings moved on, the people came down from the mountains. The people who froze got up off the ground, shook themselves off, and stepped back into life. We have built-in instincts to respond to danger, respond to nightmares and flashbacks and triggers. And how we respond isn't a mental illness or a mental disorder. It's how we were created to respond to our troubles. Thank you.